Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
Hey, Ram. How are you?
Good.
Let's wait a few more minutes, see if we get a little bit more people.
I think we can probably do a better job like socializing the community meeting.
Yeah,
Because
we
I do talk
definitely
to a
should.
lot of people that don't know that that we host this community call where they can come and ask questions.
Yeah, we definitely should. I heard last 2 weeks ago, it wasn't very well attended either.
Hmm.
So I think I know Zach. John, I don't think I ever met with you. Are you Istio user or vendor?
Yes, I'm an Istio end user. So I'm on the foundation team at Zendesk and
Mm,
been running Kubernetes for a couple of years now and have been kind of playing around with Service Mesh and Istio for, it was like a side project for most of last year.
okay,
And
it's
now we
become a
are,
real project.
yeah, kind of like let's have a couple of people play around and get enough knowledge about it. So now we're in a state that we're running it running the control plane in our staging clusters, and working on kind of going through and enabling is the Envoy sidecar for a bunch of our services to see what works, what fails, with a plan to start running in production probably end of this quarter for a
That's cool.
limited subset of services, and then ramp up as you do.
Oh yeah, makes sense. Which version are you using?
The most recent one,
Okay,
yeah,
1.4.
one for butter. Yeah.
What features are you most interested in? Like,
I think the first use case is going to be progressive delivery. So
mhm.
we're switching. We previously have ran a kind of a bespoke deployment tool that we wrote in house, a Rails app that's a glorified script runner with a bunch of Kubernetes stuff added on. But we're transitioning to using Spinnaker as our deployment tool. So being able to, I think we've been trying to figure out the best way of allowing teams to, does every team, we've got a couple, like 200, 300 services running. Does every team write their own like virtual service and destination rule and all those definitions? Does it get managed centrally? So
Mhm.
we figured starting off with just having the like Spinnaker, the delivery pipeline tool, responsible for managing the Istio stuff, and not giving engineers too many knobs and levers to try
Mhm.
things out with. Start there, and then bit by bit expand the set of features that people use. That's the plan.
Do you have Spinnaker as part of the Spinnaker process? Do you generate the Istio configuration, or do you have the configuration saved and then you just have Spinnaker apply it?
We're trying to figure that bit out.
Okay.
We're trying to move to more of a GitOpsy model where we write out all the manifests for all the things, and then the deploy tool is dumb-ish. Not doing a whole lot for it, but obviously if you've got a multi-stage progressive delivery thing, something needs to be changing the
Mm-hmm.
the 199, 510, or something needs to be tweaking that. So figuring that bit out.
Okay, very good. Looks like we have a few folks join. Let's go ahead and get started. I totally agree with Ram. We definitely need to socialize this meeting a little bit more in the future. So I do put a few things on the agenda. I will run through quickly, and then we should just open up, see if anybody have anything they want to bring up. It's still 1.5. Quick update. One of the things I want to call everybody attention to is it's still as an example when not to use microservices. So Christian really did a good job to summarize some of the evolution going on within the Istio project, where we merge back to a monolithic application for our control plane. So that's definitely worth reading. I'm actually personally playing with the new Istio myself, and it's really interesting, and looking forward to be able to manage control plane a lot easier with one single component. So I don't know if you guys are aware of any upcoming events. So since we have a small crowd, I don't know if anybody wants to mention any events. Dan, do you want to mention anything?
Though I don't have a firm date for one. I know that and we talked about this, Lynn. I think it's the Port Shift team is organizing an Istio event for some time in the next couple of months in Israel. So if it is being recorded, I believe. Ram, is it not?
Yeah,
I thought I saw
it's
it is being
auto recorded.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Yes, I think they are still at the looking for content stage. They haven't, and they're looking at actually firming a dates. They're simultaneously looking for speakers and then working with speakers on dates. So if there is anyone who is interested in speaking at an Istio event in February or March in Israel, why don't you ping me, and I will get you on the email thread with them where they're trying to work this out. It's going to be hosted at a Google office by a partner. So that's the event that I know that's going on.
Yep. And on top of, thank you, Dan. On top of the events, I want to quickly mention is the call for paper for Service Mesh Con. It's coming up. I believe it's due on February 4th. So that would be an interesting one to consider. John, I think you are a good candidate too, especially if you guys have production stories, pre-production stories of Istio. I think that those are really, really popular topics for Service Mesh Con.
Yes, absolutely. Anecdotally speaking, Matt Klein, who I think is our conference co-chair for KubeCon, said that he got tons of, this wasn't Istio specific, but it was Service Mesh wide, tons and tons of submissions, but not enough from users.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's generally, true, especially in early adoption time. So yes, John or anyone else who wants to talk about usage, I think that the community is starved for that.
Yeah. Okay, as far as the examples, Megan actually put out a couple of more examples out there. I want to call your attention if you haven't seen it on secure ingress and fault injection. As always, she's done an excellent job on that. And Ram also have a 5-minute Istio explained video. I think it was you got a shout out on one of the Kubernetes podcasts too.
Oh, did I? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I can't remember which one. I think maybe towards the end of last year, there was a discussion about Service Mesh, and Craig said, if you're interested to learn more about Service Mesh, check out Ram's 5 minutes video. So that
nice.
was really cute. Yeah, and we have a Istio Explained book also. So if you're interested, it's free. And Ram put this for me, a little bit shameless plug for myself. So we have a Kubernetes podcast interview with me. So if you're interested in a little bit more on Istio's history and what we are doing in the past few releases and the upcoming release. So that's an interesting one to listen in. I think these are all the topics I have. I want to open up, see if you guys have any questions or topics you want to bring up.
Oh, just one comment. I think do you guys see the blog post that Datadog did on Istio?
Yes, roughly.
Did it? I saw it, I think, in a preview form. I didn't realize that it had actually gotten published.
Yeah, I think it got published maybe on January 8th, it looks like.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter.
Report thing. It's really good. I actually like the I think they did a really nice job of walking through even like not Datadog specific stuff, but kind of like stepping through how the different CRDs work for like configuring what like I think they have an example of like what happens if you want to add the HTTP method to your logs, or as a metric, or a what is it? So just kind of went through how you do configure Istio with that. So it was a really nice companion. It's a different style and approach that the Istio docs have, but I think that's really valuable because there's just such a giant domain of stuff and information that having 3 or 4 different ways to explain stuff I find is super useful.
Yeah, it's interesting. Craig Box is not here right now, and he has been really thinking about how we can make our website better and how to better serve users. He's really thinking about this as a multi-month project. When I read this, John, I had the same reaction that you did. I mean, and to be clear, I thought it was better. I thought they have done a better job explaining this than we ever did. And it's funny, looking at Megan's Istio by example.dev, I think she does a really good job of taking on a completely different task. They talk a lot about running Istio. Really, they have a lot of their series is on how do you monitor your Istio installation to make sure it's working well. But in doing so, really talks about like how do you run an Istio installation. They did a really good job with that kind of operations guide. Megan is taking from a totally different use case. What are simple tasks that developers want to do? They are good examples of how the community is kind of filling gaps and improving on what we have. That shouldn't stop us from figuring out how to improve what we have as well.
Right.
And so one thing that I think Craig is going to work on is identifying problems. Maybe one of these things, I don't think he has anything about this. I think we need a better way to solicit feedback on the docs themselves. We should make sure that we take that into account. But the other thing he is trying to do is bring more outsiders, more specifically partners, into content creation. It behooves us all to make this easier to adopt. And if we can get people who maybe are contributing less, lines of Go to the project, but can contribute more lines of Markdown to the project, that's just as useful, maybe in some cases more useful. So he is really trying to round up partners who want to be part of this, and I hope improve. But yes, thanks for calling attention to it. I didn't realize it had been published.
It's interesting. I find that monitoring is actually a really describing how to monitor something is actually a really useful way to understand something. Like not necessarily like, okay, what every line of Golang code is doing, but like you have to understand like what are the pieces, what are the failure scenarios, what are the kind of things you need to pay attention to, so from a little bit of a black boxy, gray boxy perspective and that sort of thing, but what are the key things about the system that could go wrong and I should care about? It always gives me a better understanding of how something works, because usually, but every project I've worked on is like, okay, cool, it's up and running, and someone's like, okay, how can you prove to me it's working properly? I'm like,
what's interesting, as you were describing that, I was thinking about like a dashboard on a car, right? And there's some information you get. I can see the RPMs. I've got to understand what that means to know what that gauge is, right? I've got some lights that don't come on very often, but I should know what those kind of indicate when they come on. I could not build an engine from the ground up. Couldn't replace one, but I have an idea of how it works because I know here are the important things to mention. I know how to check the oil.
Yep. Yeah, with a complicated distributed system, there are just so many moving parts. I've actually been we've been using Datadog for years, and I've been giving the feedback that if they have a bunch of integrations with Kafka and Istio and Kubernetes and that sort of thing, and if you give okay, you have an integration, and now you get an extra 150 metrics. Cool, but if you don't explain which of those should I care about and why?
Right.
And what are the dimensions? And like that's the net, like that's the value add that they can add. Just okay, now like because the number of times
Yeah.
I've created a dashboard and I've been staring at the dashboard and it's clearly a problem, but like everything seems green. But oh, there's some other key metric that's not on the dashboard that I forgot to add there. So.
Yeah, this is really useful feedback. Honestly, it's interesting. Datadog was looking at this angle, I guess, because they are a monitoring solution company. But on the other hand, it's something users really, really care about. It's just so important to call out of like 1,000 stats. These are the few ones that's really, really relevant to our users.
Yeah, as someone who's working on like deploying and like having a team that's responsible for Istio, to a degree, it's less important for me to know how to accomplish something, and kind of more important to know how do I know when something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like having a team that is like does not know how to progress in something and needs to go Istio by example. The docs gets a little blocked there. To me, is better than someone just like trying something. Like we what do we have? We ran into a problem where we had in our cluster, there was a service that was listening on port 443, but was not named, the port was not named HTTPS. So Istio thought 443 was HTTP. So now every other, every HTTPS, actually every outbound HTTPS connection stopped working because Envoy just decided that port was no longer, and that, I think that got fixed in a pull request. So if you name it HTTP, that no longer happens, but if you name it, say, gRPC, that can still occur. So ways of like, oh, shoot, a misconfiguration borks my entire cluster. Those are things I get paranoid about.
Yeah, I think honestly that's where a lot of people are about. Like Megan's example is more about how do I do this, how do I do that, and the fact that you said monitoring is so important now, which means you probably move to the next stage where you already moved your app to the mesh, or at least some of the app to mesh. Now it's going to be your next challenge is how do I know when something goes wrong?
Yeah, and how confident I could be that we can safely roll this out to services, in the likelihood of adding adding one service doesn't accidentally cause an outage for unrelated stuff. Make sense?
Yeah.
So because I don't have as good a mental model of where like pilot is getting information, how that translates to Envoy config. Had services that weren't passing a host header, and all like the sidecar just like 400 HTTP requests, but minus host header, so just got a whatever error host missing or something like that. So a little discovering all the little quirks, and like that was limited to that service, so it didn't affect any service deployed, failed its health checks, rolled back, effectively a non-issue, but yeah, seeing where those exist.
Yeah, it's critical. It's not impacting anybody else. Yeah.
Actually, I had one other question. I noticed, I think it was in 1.3, HashiCorp Vault support was removed. Do you know when that's coming back?
So the only thing I know is on the user doc, it said it will be back in the future release, but I haven't heard it's planned in 1.5. Dan, do you know anything?
I don't know. John, was that something you were using?
We were planning on using that. I got something, I kind of hacked some stuff up with Node Agent in Vault in an earlier version.
Okay.
So just kind of proof of concept, and then upgraded to 1.4, and like, oh, let me circle back on this, and hey, where'd that page go? And discovered that had been removed. We use Vault for pretty much all of our secrets right now. For PKI, we use it for its KV type stuff. We're increasingly use it to it's like integration with AWS to provide like short-term credentials, so you can use it to connect to S3 buckets and DynamoDB tables and et cetera, et cetera. So having a story where Vault is also used as the certificate authority for the certificates in Istio. That made our security and compliance people very happy.
Right.
Nice consistent story about all that.
All right, let me see.
Now, and we've been like avoiding using Kubernetes secrets as much as humanly possible, because we adopted back before there was any option to encrypt secrets. So we just say, all right, they're in plain text, they're inherently insecure. Don't put anything we care into that. So now it's like, private key for root cert of Citadel hanging out in the Kubernetes secret doesn't make us terribly happy.
Let me see if I can track down who internally can provide a status update, and I'll catch up with you via email.
That'd be great, thank you.
I'm going to send an IM right now.
Like I said, mutual TLS is probably going to be like a second phase rollout. Like we're starting off with the traffic shaping and that sort of thing, and then certs will come a little bit later. So it's not an immediate blocker for us, but we would much prefer to have all the secret stuff hanging out in a lockdown vault.
Okay, I'll check. I'm asking a question, but I'll catch up with you via email on that.
Cool. Yeah, whatever. I opened up an issue. I think the first issue I opened up with Istio was the docs for how to use Vault were difficult for me to actually get anything done with. And I think I know someone worked on a more expanding the example to actually talk about how to configure Vault and sort of thing. So if and when it comes back, the clearer and like having a is there like a GitHub repo for Istio by example?
My guess, I was just about to say, if it comes back, we should have Megan do that. My guess is knowing Megan that it's all.
Yeah, if you just scroll down on Istio that example all the way down, there's a source button.
Yeah, someone, I don't know, obviously HashiCorp has Console Connect, so they might not be probably a little, not overly enthusiastic about being Istio supporters, but if there was some, maybe a little chunk of Terraform on here's how to create a vault, and here's how to, kind of, at least in demo environment, be able to just hook things up and show things working end to end, that'd be groovy.
I know that Megan has asked us, hey, she's like an internal sheet that she has going. If anyone has requests for things they want me to do, let me know. I will put a placeholder on that sheet. By the way, when Vault integration comes back, and my guess is that lots of people would want that. In fact, I'm going to leave here in 5 minutes and go talk to her.
Yeah, or if whoever's working on either the implementation of the docs, they want to use me as a guinea pig or beta tester or bounce ideas off of that, it's very much worthwhile for us to have that integration. So I'm not familiar enough with Istio codebase to really jump in and probably contribute a whole lot code-wise, but if I can help out with that, I'm happy to contribute.
Okay, great.
I think you already have my email from a previous.
I yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, Dan, could you keep us posted on the Vault support too? Because occasionally we got people ask on that too.
Yes, I will let you. I'm not going to respond back from my instant message, but that's okay. I'll let everyone know.
Oh yeah, we don't expect an instant response. So.
Just for my own edification, if you're just running, if you're running Citadel, no Vault, just kind of vanilla Kubernetes, vanilla Istio, are Kubernetes secrets used for the private key for the root CA that's signing everything?
Only for control plane in 1.5. So in 1.5, you can specify your CA provider to be Kubernetes or Citadel. So if you choose to be Kubernetes, it's only for control plane, not for the data plane.
Okay, gotcha. And that's a 1.5 feature?
Yeah.
Cool. Look forward to trying that out because I think
Yeah, and it also requires your cluster have certificate signing capabilities. So you want to make sure your cluster have that capabilities, else you would have to fall back to use Citadel as the search provider.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we've had a use case for that so far, but that would probably make it worthwhile to add that features the cluster itself.
Yeah, it's supposed to be more secure too, to use a certificate signing request to get the certs. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good.
Any other questions? Sounds like we're just having this meeting for you. So.
This is great.
Hey.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I think the next instance of this meeting, Lynn, I think Jace was due to host.
Oh, yeah.
So either I will do that, or I'll see if Craig Box is interested in hosting. And I think we'll do a little bit of evangelization ahead of time, because certainly I think this this calendar year there's just been less attendance than before. So I think letting people know, like, hey, here's the thing we're going to talk about, and doing a tweet or two will definitely help.
Yeah, definitely. We need to have the agenda ahead, then we tweet about it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for attending. Thanks for all your questions, John. I'll let you know what I learned, and I'll let everybody else know too.
Thanks for your help. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Bye now.